Hey everybody, my name is Gavin and I love horror. Recently made a trip out west for a vacation to beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. I know what you're saying to yourself right now, like, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, luckily what I'm about to tell you about actually took place in Boulder City, Nevada. Boulder City, Nevada is the home of Tom Devlin's Monster Museum. Tom Devlin is a special effects makeup artist out of Hollywood, has this really cool monster museum right there in Boulder City. Me and my girlfriend got to check it out while we were on vacation. So right now, let's go on a tour together. So right when we pulled up to this place, I automatically fell in love. They have a cool hearse out front that is just amazing. And I was immediately just overwhelmed by how much cool stuff was actually in this museum. When you walk in, you are first greeted by the Creature from the Black Lagoon, a big stand up from that. I'm a huge Creature from the Black Lagoon fan. If you've watched this channel at all, you know it's my favorite Universal horror monster. So being able to take a picture with a life-size stadium was incredible. The whole first part of the museum is kind of honoring the horror history of the Universal monsters, which was so cool. What I liked about the museum is not only did you get to see some of the creatures up close, but also they had fun little factoids about the making of the movies, which was super cool. So when you think like Monster Museum, you might think it was more like a haunted house, but this was a legit museum with different displays and different factoids. And I really left feeling like I learned a lot about the history of monsters in Hollywood. Walking into the museum, like once you get past the Universal Monster Room, there's so much stuff to look at. There's aliens. One thing I thought was really cool was they have this whole big display case of like movie used things. Tom Devlin worked on Poultrygeist, which is super cool. I love me some trauma movies. And you can see some screen used props from that. Also, he also helped work on one of the Puppet Master movies. So they had actual puppets from Puppet Master, and honestly, I was super surprised at how big the puppets actually are, because, I mean, you hear puppets and you're like, well, they're gonna be tiny. These things are huge. These things are at least 12 to 14 inches. But they're big. They're really, really big puppets. And being able to like see them through the glass and see like the size of them was super cool. They also had a ghoulie coming out of a toilet, which was neat. If you watched my scariest box art video from last year, you'll know that like, yeah, that's funny. That is funny seeing the ghoulie in the toilet. A lot of photo opportunities. You got to see creatures from They Live, which of course I love. You also got to see like killer clowns from outer space. A huge corner just dedicated to the Toxic Avenger, which was so freaking neat. Love seeing all the trauma love in Tom Devlin's Monster Museum. Also, there was an entire room just for Jason Voorhees. Love seeing all the different iterations of Jason all lined up next to each other so you could see just how the makeups had changed over time, from being the sackhead Jason going to something more like the really sticky, wet, gross, slimy Jason Takes Manhattan Jason. It was so cool. And on the walls, of course, saw a lot of cool autographed memorabilia from the different actors that have played Jason. Also in that same room, you had a Ghostface display, which was so cool. Love Scream, love that franchise. So being able to see like an original Ghostface mask up on the wall was so cool. They also had a Texas Chainsaw Massacre room, which I thought was really, really neat. They also had they already had a poster up for the Gun Media game coming out. So this museum is constantly being updated. It's not just like a relic of the past. They are constantly updating it. Being able to see different leather face masks up close was also super cool. Of course, as you make your way through the museum a little bit further, you got Michael Myers, you got Chucky. One of the Chuckies though looked a little odd to me. Like I didn't know like if it was like a prop or maybe an unused concept art. There was one Chucky that was a little odd to me. You can see it here in the video, but it was a little different. Not my favorite Chucky by far, but it was just so cool walking through this place and just horror everywhere. So much history, so much legacy. And then the final room, one of the coolest things in the entire museum is they actually have a replica of the Creepshow ticket booth from the classic Creepshow poster. So that was a lot of fun to be able to pose next to and see that. Also Tarman from Return of the Living Dead. This museum is so cool. I didn't want to put everything in this video because I didn't want to feel like you wouldn't have to go. It's 20 bucks to get in. Super cool to just walk through, spend an hour or two walking through, reading all kinds of fun horror history factoids. Like I said, it was a good afternoon. I had a really, really good time. And of course, you gotta get some souvenirs. And the Tom Devlin Monster Museum has a ton of cool souvenirs that you can choose from. We actually got one of these cool magnets there. I also am a big fan of enamel pins. So they have like this neat enamel pin that'll go up on my corkboard over here. So if you're ever in Las Vegas and you want to find something horror related that isn't like the scary people walking the streets at 2 in the morning, you can take the short 40-minute trip over to Boulder City, Nevada. Go over there, go to Tom Devlin Monster Museum. It's like 20 bucks to get in, which is one of the cheapest things in the whole Las Vegas area. We went to a RuPaul's Drag Race show. The drinks, for 2 drinks, a Pepsi and a ginger ale, was $14. For $6 more, I got a Monster Museum. So if you're on a budget going out to Vegas, the Monster Museum definitely fits in that budget for you. The woman who was working behind the counter actually told me that they actually show like movies on the weekend, so you can come by, watch free movies, hang out, and they play documentaries during the week, which is like a cool thing to do. So if you're like bored in Boulder City, you can be like, let's go check out a horror movie in this cool theater in this Monster Museum. It was a lot of fun. Highly recommend checking out the Tom Devlin Monster Museum in Boulder City, Nevada. So if you're going out west, you're going to Vegas, maybe you want to get off the strip, Monster Museum, do it. Monster Museum. What do you think? Have you ever been to the Monster Museum? Let me know what your experience was. Are there any other cool horror themed museums across the United States that I need to know about, that I need to visit? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know what your favorite exhibit was as I was walking through the Monster Museum. Did you like Toxic Avenger? Did you like the cool Puppet Master stuff? Or maybe you're like me and you love it all. You love it all. But let me know in the comments below what you think. As always, I greatly appreciate you checking out this video and would love if you would become a subscriber. So hit that subscribe button right now. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, until next time, stay weird.